When she was 8 years old, her parents handed her over to the church, a 10th child, a tithe. She was sent to live in the care of an anchoress, a woman who had chosen to be walled into a small stone cell, attached to a monastery, and never come out. By the time she was a teenager, she had been formally enclosed with her. She was born in the summer of 1098, in a small village in the Rhineland called Bermersheim. Her family were minor German nobility, comfortable, landowning, but not powerful. She was the 10th child. By custom, a 10th child could be given to the church as a kind of offering, a living tithe. According to her own later accounts, she had been seeing strange visions since she was very young, a light behind her eyes, images she could not explain. She learned quickly not to talk about them. At 8, she was sent to the monastery of Disibodenberg, on a wooded hill above the River Nahe. She was placed in the care of a young noblewoman named Jutta von Sponheim, the anchoress who would shape her next 3 decades. Jutta taught her to read Latin, to pray the Psalms, to sing. The walls of that cell shaped her entire education. When Jutta died in 1136, the other women who had joined them chose Hildegard as their leader. She was 38. She had lived on that hilltop, inside one form of enclosure or another, for 30 years. And then, 5 years later, something broke open. In 1141 she wrote, "A great light flooded into her, and with it understanding." She said she suddenly understood the meaning of the scriptures. She said a voice told her to write down what she saw. She was terrified. She was 43 years old. She had never written a book. She was a woman in the church in the Middle Ages. And women were not supposed to teach. She did write, though, in secret at first, with the help of one man, a monk named Volmar, who had known her for years. He took down what she dictated. The first book was called Scivias, short for Know the Ways. It took her 10 years to finish. Then carefully, she did something that could have ended her career, or her life. She sent a letter to the most famous churchman in Europe, Bernard of Clairvaux. She asked him essentially whether she had permission to speak publicly about what she saw. Bernard wrote back. He was cautious, but he did not dismiss her. He mentioned her to the Pope. At the Synod of Trier, in 1147 and 1148, Pope Eugenius III read passages from Scivias out loud to the gathered bishops. He told her to keep writing. That single moment changed everything. Suddenly, a cloistered nun from a small hilltop monastery was officially authorized by the Pope. People began writing to her. Abbots, abbesses, monks, princes, asking for her opinion, her prayers, her judgment. Her letters, hundreds of them survive, show her answering with startling directness. She told powerful men, in blunt terms, when she thought they were wrong. Around 1150, she decided to leave Disibodenberg and found her own convent, on a nearby hill called Rupertsberg. The abbot there did not want her to go. She was becoming famous, and famous nuns brought donations. He refused. She became ill, so ill that she could not move, she said, until he relented. Eventually, he did. She moved, and she built something almost unheard of in her century, a large independent women's monastery, run entirely by women. Her output from that hill is almost hard to believe. She wrote 2 more books of visions, Liber Vitae Meritorum and Liber Divinorum Operum. She wrote 2 medical works, Physica on plants, stones and animals, and Causae et Curae on the human body and disease. She composed more than 70 pieces of liturgical music, soaring, strange, wide-ranging melodies, unlike anything else surviving from her century. She wrote a morality play with music, the Ordo Virtutum, possibly the oldest known musical drama. She invented a private alphabet and a private language, called the Lingua Ignota. Scholars still argue about what it was for. Her science was of her time. She believed in the 4 humours, in the influence of the stars, in the medicinal power of gemstones. Her medical works catalogue hundreds of remedies drawn from plants, animals, and minerals, a mixture of monastic garden practice and local folk knowledge. What is striking is not whether every remedy holds up today. It is that she was writing at all. A cloistered woman in the 1150s, composing reference works on natural history. She was not quiet either. In her 60s and 70s, she did something no other woman of her century is known to have done. She left her convent and went on preaching tours. 4 of them. She spoke in cathedrals, in Cologne, in Trier, in Würzburg, publicly, to mixed audiences of clergy and laity. The church generally did not permit women to preach in public. She preached anyway, and her papal endorsement was what made it tolerated. She also argued, often. She argued with abbots, she argued with bishops. Late in life, she argued with the emperor, Frederick Barbarossa, after he supported a rival claimant to the papacy. She had once received his protection for her convent, an imperial charter, sealed with his name. Now she warned him, bluntly, that God would bring him down. The fight that may have hurt her most, though, was smaller. She had a favorite among her nuns, a young woman from a noble family named Richardis von Stade. Richardis's family arranged for her to be made abbess of another convent, far away. Hildegard begged for her to be allowed to stay. She wrote to the archbishop, to the pope, to Richardis's own brother. She lost. Richardis left. Not long after, Richardis died. Hildegard's letters about her are among the most openly grieving things she ever wrote. Her last conflict came near the end. In 1178, her convent buried a man the local clergy said had been excommunicated. The diocese ordered the nuns to dig up his body. Hildegard refused. She said he had reconciled with the church before death. The diocese placed her entire convent under interdict. The sisters could not sing the daily office, could not hear mass, could not take communion. For a community built around sung prayer, it was a wound. She fought the ruling for months. She wrote letters. She argued theology. Eventually, the interdict was lifted. She died not long after, on the 17th of September, 1179. She was 81 years old. Her own nuns said that at the moment of her death, 2 arcs of light appeared in the sky above Rupertsberg and crossed over her room. That last detail is, of course, a traditional account, the kind of thing said about saints. What is not traditional is the paper trail, the books, the songs, the hundreds of letters, the medical manuscripts, the record of a woman walled up as a child, who by the end was telling emperors what to do. The church did not formally canonize her until 2012, more than 800 years later. That same year, Pope Benedict XVI named her a doctor of the church. Only 4 women in the entire history of Catholicism hold that title. She called her visions a living light. She said it had been there since she was 3 years old. For most of her life, she told almost no one. And then, at 43, she picked up a pen. And the vision went with her into the world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more.